Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother...
Welcome to the party, pal!
Hey, welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother podcast. We're going to call this the RoundRobin edition. Hi, everybody. How's it going? You want to introduce yourselves? Go ahead. Start in the top.
I'm Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Debbie Murphy calling from Punta Cana.
Nice. In the DR.
Wojo?
I'm Michelle Wojciechowski, and we're in my home office.
I'm Brad Borelli, and I'm there too.
I'm John Quattrussi.
I'm Drew Gould, and I'm in the basement.
Right. I'm Ralph Quattrussi. Welcome, everybody. Do you guys like the way I popped you out in the last one when you guys introduced yourselves?
That was really sexy.
Thank you.
That was fun.
Thank you for noticing and bringing it up, even though I just brought it up myself. Today, we're going to do a little different take. Each one of us, we spun the wheel last week for genres or themes or whatever, and it came up on movie biography. And all we're going to do is each one of us, each person, is going to bring a biography that they want to kind of introduce to us. Take about 3-4 minutes, talk about it, and see how it goes. We'll start with the couple in the DR.
Well, I'll go first. Yeah, the film I picked, there were so many great biographies to choose from, but picking one from 1970. You know, I love those 70s movies.
Oh, I'm so shocked.
Who doesn't love the 70s?
This was a film I saw at the Timonium Drive-In with my parents. It was written by Edwin North and Francis Ford Coppola and directed by Franklin Schaeffer. It features an Oscar-winning performance by George C. Scott. The film is Patton.
Oh.
And it is one of George C. Scott's many once-in-a-lifetime performances. When you really think about Patton, and I was even thinking about it at the time, this film about this guy who loved war came out at the height of the Vietnam War. It was a very interesting juxtaposition. And the film was extremely successful. Francis Ford Coppola and Edwin North won an Oscar for their script. Coppola wrote the script in 1966, an early version, and he had problems with the studio. He was kicked off the project. They brought in Edwin North, who wrote a lot of famous films himself, like The Day the Earth Stood Still and In a Lonely Place, the Bogart film. And when they decided to do the movie, they brought back most of Coppola's scripts, so that was his first Oscar. It's a fantastic film. Has everyone seen the movie?
Yes.
I have. Yep.
No, because we have never seen anything.
Okay, that's honest.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. The sad thing, and I'll bring this up, is it really shouldn't matter how the person was in real life, but the more I've been reading about Patton, his attitude towards war doesn't bother me. And I think he was a great American hero. But he was a bit of an anti-Semite, I have to say.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird that somebody who's amazing at war isn't really good at other interpersonal stuff, but it happens. Yeah, George C. Scott is amazing in that movie, and I think if you're going to pick one role that's associated with him, that's a good choice because he just towers over that movie. It's incredible.
Not the one he did where he goes and finds his daughter in L.A. What's that one? Vice or...
It doesn't mean that hardcore is bad or the hospital is bad, but
and then there's a sequel to Patton too, right? Didn't he play it on television?
Patton, the final years.
Yeah, and I guess he died. Patton died like paralyzed or something. There's something about
he was in an accident. He broke his back, but they also thought he got poisoned by the Russians.
Oh wow!
Because he was the one. He was the one that said we shouldn't be aligned with Russia, because it's going to come back to haunt us, and he was right. And his men loved him. He was a rough guy, but his men loved him. And Ike knew that he was the guy. I mean, he did some amazing things in World War II. He wasn't a nice guy, but
in the film, the scene where he slaps the one guy.
Well, he took a lot of heat for that.
Then he just the way he went into the hospitals and talked to the injured guys and all that stuff. You can see why.
But the man who fought for him loved him.
Yeah.
Loved him.
But I did want to point out that Patton, although he had some pro-German comments at near the end of the war, he hated the Germans. That's why he wasn't supposed to command in North Africa, but they brought him in because they said he hated the Germans like vampires hate holy water. You know, that's how much he hated the Germans. And his son-in-law had been captured by the Germans too, you know, and he tried to break them out. He sent the units during Bastogne to try to liberate the prisoner of war camp. And it turned out to be a disaster that the press kind of covered up.
Yeah.
So they, you know, more Americans were captured. The raid was a disaster, but you know, it was if you want to see one film about a World War II general, that's definitely the film to see. It's a masterful performance. John Wayne wanted the role, but the producer turned him down. Rod Steiger was offered the role. He turned it down. Burt Lancaster turned it down because he didn't consider the film. He considered the film pro-war. Interestingly, some people think the film is anti-war. I don't get it, but I guess in the 70s, you could look at it any way you wanted.
Right. And you said it. Did Coppola win an Oscar for that one?
Yes, he won an Oscar for the script.
Yeah. And nice, good one. All right.
Do you want Debbie's now, or do you want?
Yeah, of course. No, good.
Well, I recommended Behind the Candelabra with Matt Damon and Michael Douglas playing the role of Liberace. And they were just such great performances. It's such a fun, lighthearted movie about a very complicated man. And I just love this film because it showed, you know, we all have our history with thinking ways of how we used to think of homosexuality, you know, in my lifetime. And this movie sort of like broke the glass ceiling on that because it showed how Michael Douglas or Liberace, he was such a talented person, such a gifted, beautiful person, full of so much humor and
wait. Are you saying Liberace was gay?
I thought he was just waiting for the right young lady.
I thought he was.
Yeah, he was just
good
waiting
entertainer. Holy cow!
Sonia Henning,
right?
His love of his life, Sonia Henning.
The thing about Liberace was he was like the ladies loved him because I remember seeing him on all the talk shows. Right, he'd come on Merv Griffin and Johnny Carson, and he was like a safe gay guy. Right, he was a gay guy that everybody just thought was. And he was great. I mean, listen, I'm not even.
Especially the older women, they thought that he was straight and they had a chance. Maybe
that's amazing. Amazing.
You know, I mean, that's like what I see from the, you know, people. Like they would go to these concerts, pack them in with women, and they would swoon over Liberace.
Yeah.
And he would play act with them. You know, I don't know what kind of woman would find that kind of guy attractive for a partner, but
I think they just wanted his clothes. He had amazing clothes.
Oh God, yes, very.
Well, and frankly, Michael Douglas and Matt Damon did a great job portraying, that's a, tough role for those guys.
It's a great.
Yes. I mean, I guess you could argue that they should have gay people play those two parts. Maybe. I don't know if you want to get a little controversial.
Well, here's the thing.
But they were great.
No, I thought they were great, but somebody told me, that, Michael Douglas was around the right age when he met the guy, that this relationship is based around. But, Matt Damon, I don't know how old he was, late 30s when he did this film, mid 30s, maybe. But they're like, would you look at the film differently if it was Michael Douglas and a 18-year-old boy rather than a 30-something-year-old man?
Why was the guy 18 when he met him?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be a little different.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah.
Anyway, well.
Yeah.
So you're saying it should have been Timothy Chalamet? Is that what you're saying?
If it had been, it would have been a different movie. I mean, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the performances were great.
Yeah.
This was a great late career, Michael Douglas role.
Yeah.
And Matt Damon, it was good to see him do that, as well.
It was also one of the many times that Steven Soderbergh announced that he was retiring and it was his last film. And I'm glad that it wasn't because it's another great film in his filmography.
Yeah.
And who was the guy that played Rob Lowe played the
Doctor.
plastic surgeon?
Oh, he's
Oh
terrifying.
my God, he was great in that. He looked frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good choice. Good one. Drew.
I mean, it was that was funny though that Liberace was giving him plastic surgery to look more like him. You know,
The kid.
That was
He
an
giving
odd
the
twist.
kid.
yeah.
All right, Drew, what do you got?
Well, there's a lot of really, really good movie biographies and different kinds of movie biographies. You know, you can look at somebody's whole life, or you can look at a certain moment or incident in their life. You can make a movie, which I suspect some of the ones coming up might be, where it's a fictionalized version of a real person. And when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to pick, I was thinking about stuff like Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie, and Lord of War, the Nicolas Cage movie. But then I realized one of the things I like a lot about movie biographies is when it's someone that I've never heard of and therefore have no interest in, and they introduce me to some compelling story, some compelling life. So I thought I would tell you guys about a movie that is available on Amazon Prime, starring Tom Jane, called Stander. It's probably a mispronunciation of some horrendously South African pronunciation of his name, because Andre Stander was a cop in South Africa in the 80s. And he ended up in suppressing a riot in a Soweto township. And in the movie, he actually kills an unarmed person, an unarmed young black boy. And he decides that he's doesn't understand why he's being a cop. So naturally, he'll make some friends, and they'll be really brave, garish, popular hero bank robbers. And that's what they do. And the movie is very entertaining. It's very fun. I'd never heard of this guy. He's a legendary criminal in South Africa, so everyone there knows him. It was directed by Bronwyn Hughes, who did a lot of TV, a lot of good shows, Breaking Bad, and a lot of other stuff. But this was one of her earlier movies in 2003. And the story of Stander is just a fascinating story about a guy who, he's not a good guy, but you can't stop watching him. And he ended up doing time in prison and breaking out of prison and robbing banks. And people would, one time the manager of one of the banks got on television and said, Stander tried to rob our bank and he couldn't get into the safe because I hid it behind this painting. And then the police left, and Stander came back and robbed the bank
behind the painting.
I mean, like, just a lot of fun personality in doing that. And of course, he died in a shootout with policemen in Florida. Yeah, in Florida. Yeah, he fled justice in South Africa and ended up in Florida and continued to do violent things.
What year
It's
did
a
that
really
film come
entertaining
out?
movie.
What year did it come out?
2003.
Oh.
2003. And I mean, I'm just a big fan of Tom Jane. I think he's a fine
Punisher.
actor. He does a lot of different stuff. And this is one of those, like, it's his movie, career best, excellent performance. And again, it's a movie about someone I'd never heard of. And so I learned a lot about him, and it made me want to read more about him. And the movie is, it does the thing that biographies do, which is not a documentary. It's not exact, but it definitely catches the spirit of this guy and the popular notion of who he was and what his ridiculous life was like. And it reminded me of movies like Chopper, with Eric Bana as a famous Australian criminal and stuff like that. So Stander from Tom Jane was really good.
Wait,
You guys
career
should check
best.
it out.
Did you put the Deep Blue Sea in that list of career best? Right?
He's excellent in that. He's not as good as the Sharks, but he's very good.
Very good.
In that movie.
Awesome.
He's very fun.
It sounds great. I love Thomas Jane, so that'd be a good one to see.
He's actually credited as Tom Jane in the
Jane.
movie, which I think is funny because that's his line in Arrested Development.
When did Boogie Nights come out? That's Thomas Jane, right?
Yeah, Thomas Jane is in that famous scene with they're trying to rob
the firecrackers.
Yeah, they're trying to rob Alfred Molina and the firecrackers, and that was 1997.
Yeah, okay.
He's great in that movie too.
He's really good.
He was great and Hung.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's a really fun show.
It was.
It
was fun.
It's more than just a giant penis. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Nice. He's very good.
All right. Well, Wojo, your turn.
Okay. Well, I was going over this, and I kept picking and then changing my mind. And finally, I decided to go with one that's more recent that you probably haven't seen. And it's called The King of Staten Island.
Oh,
And
that's
Pete
Pete Davidson.
It is based on the life of Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live. And I've seen him on Saturday Night Live, but I really haven't seen him in much else. And so I wasn't sure when I watched this movie what to expect. And it was so well done. It was co-written by Judd Apatow and also a guy named Dave Sears, who followed me on Twitter today.
Mazel
But
tov.
there you go.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding. Thank you. Thank you. But they co-wrote it. And, I had heard that in real life, Pete Davidson's father died. He was a fireman, and he was one of the first, in one of the first companies that responded to 9/11.
Right.
And he was killed that day. Now, they keep his father as a fireman in this movie, but they don't bring up 9/11. And it makes sense because once you bring up 9/11, you have to talk about 9/11. You know what I mean? It's whereas this time they just simply said his father died in a hotel fire rescuing people. But it's really a good movie. It's so well written. And the characters, Marissa Tomei plays his mother. Pete Davidson goes by the name Scott in the movie, which was actually his father's name, which you find out at the end. So spoiler, oh well. And he's basically, just laying around the house, smoking weed. He wants to become a tattoo artist, but he drops out of art school and he tattoos any friend who will let him. And his tattoos are terrible and they all look horrific.
Just like real life.
But his goal is he wants to have the first tattoo restaurant. So you eat your dinner while you watch people get tattoos.
That's always appetizing.
Exactly.
Everybody in the movie tells them what a horrible idea it is.
It's just, what I liked about it is the dialogue is so realistic. And like I said, I've seen Pete Davidson on Saturday Night Live, but seeing him in a movie, he was a really good actor in this. Now, granted, it was this, takes off of his life story, but the lines that they delivered, first of all, I like Judd Apatow. I tend to like Freaks and Geeks the best out of everything he's done, but I really, really supersonically like this movie. It's just, you see an evolution of him. And I tried to look up to see how much was realistic and how much wasn't. And,
Well, and based on everything I've heard about him outside of this, I mean, it seemed pretty accurate with his experience, his life experiences. I mean,
he's admitted he was pretty messed up, and he's admitted he's got mental illness, and he's
he
admitted
admits
he
that
smokes
every Saturday
weed.
night. Every Saturday night he admits that. That's all he
Yeah.
talks about. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's about
pretty
to be in the Justice League, not Justice League.
Suicide Squad. Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what it is.
really?
So,
Yeah.
So,
I'll
he's
tell you,
pretty
though, it's-
popular. That guy, and when he's on that show, people are cheering all the time, and he's got a good following. So,
Well, and the funny thing is that John Cryer has said a lot of people say that Pete Davidson resembles him when he was younger. So, and when you look
I
at
see
it
that.
in this movie,
you can see it.
you can really see
Really?
it.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
John Cryer from 16 Candles or whatever that
Yeah.
modeling was.
Pretty in
Ducky.
Pink.
Pretty in Pink.
Ducky, yeah,
And
Ducky,
2.5
right?
Men. Yeah. If you compare them, and there were some times in the movie in which Pete Davidson's voice actually sounded, he would say certain things and it sounded a little like John Cryer as well. So it's kind of, he said that he should go on Saturday Night Live playing one of Pete Davidson's characters' fathers because, but anyway.
Is he looking for work?
No, he's been playing Lex Luthor. Well, I don't know, maybe he is. I don't know, but he's been playing Lex Luthor in Supergirl. John Cryer has, and Supergirl's ending, but I did a story on him a year ago, I think. He's played Lex Luthor in I think 7 different shows now that are all part of that,
PW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway, I think, when I wasn't sure when I saw the trailer when it first came out if I was going to like it, and I really just enjoyed this movie. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I really enjoyed this movie.
Well, my problem with most of Judd Apatow's movies is the same thing that's here, which is why is this movie 2.5 hours long? But it's a good movie with some great performances, like Belle Powley, who plays his girlfriend.
Oh, he was great.
But and I love Marissa Tomei. She's got that big MILF energy, and that's really cool. But honestly, the big revelation, just in terms of performance for me in this movie, was Bill Burr.
Yeah, Bill Burr.
He's a comedian. He's
good.
done acting, but he was really. I mean, I believed him emotionally. Even
does he play his father? Is that who he's playing?
No, he plays a guy who's trying to date his mom.
Yeah,
and it's a very sort of fraught relationship, and that ended up being, to me, one of the more I guess interesting parts of the story. I didn't expect that to be part of it.
Yeah,
so Bill Burr was
absolutely.
really great.
Yeah, Bill, he's
Pete
not even
Davidson's
listed in the
interesting guy.
credits. That's what's so weird. I was looking for him. I thought he was in it, and I was going to say something, but I don't see him in there.
He's been in was he in Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul?
Yeah, Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
He's in The Mandalorian.
He's
good in The Mandalorian.
Very good in The Mandalorian.
The stuff he did on Saturday Night Live, where he's fantastic. That guy's
Yeah, very funny.
Funny.
all right, Brad, what do you got?
So I've talked in the past about how I'm kind of the novice of the group here about movies. I didn't grow up watching a ton of movies like you guys did. Because
but he wanted to kiss ass to Ralph this week. So
no.
What?
Oh, did you pick
this isn't
Fletch?
kissing
That doesn't hurt.
No, I did not bring Fletch.
Okay.
No. But no, I grew up more playing sports and being very involved. So I mainly baseball. So I played a lot of baseball, and I love the Orioles. I love watching the Orioles if I could. Of course, you couldn't watch every game back then. Listened on the radio, whatever. And I got very into the stats and things like that. So
Moneyball.
I thought it would. Yep. So I thought I'd bring Moneyball.
Great movie.
Which very good movie. And I read the book before, which I can't say about a lot of these movies that I've seen. So, and Michelle had mentioned how she started reading the book and put it down. And I get it, because the book a lot of it is going into very great detail about all the different statistics they use and things like that. And I can get where that can be pretty dull. And
that was horrible.
but I found it all fascinating. And the really cool thing about this movie, I feel, is, baseball has been around, well over a century, and, there's certain rules in the game and certain ways you play. And then, of course, as, came into more modern times and players started getting big bucks and everything, and that was kind of the way to go. But the focus is all on the stats and how you're going to win games. And in the past, the big stats were always home runs, RBIs, and that's the kind of players they're always going for, these big name players. So Billy Beane, who that's why I picked it, it's basically a biography of Billy Beane and his his career, or part of his career with the A's as a general manager. He had to find a way, since his owner basically told him couldn't spend any money. They got, they just had finished a great season. And then they had to get rid of their three best players, or let their three best players go to free agency. So he basically had nobody, a bunch of no names. And, he goes into this room with a bunch of these old guys, who are these old scouts who've been doing stuff for 30 years. And he's saying, we're not going to do it your way.
Well, he's got
anymore.
Jonah Hill next to him, this kid he found in Cleveland.
Who's like, this is like his first, this
and
was
they're
his second
all
job.
looking at him like they're crazy. They call
He's
him
an economist,
internet boy or something. You brought internet boy in there. Yeah.
But
a lot going on in that film. Lots going on.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just I think it's just fascinating, because it's in a lot of ways. I mean, of course, we've seen salaries go through the roof. Some of these players getting big money like Mike Trout, but in a lot of ways, you're seeing some of this still being true. I mean, his methods are more, in some ways, are better. Obviously, the bigger market teams are going to have a better chance each year. But, like Mike Trout is making more money, like got a contract for like $400 some million, and the A's are still sitting in last place. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then last year, the Tampa Bay went to the World Series. Granted, it was a short season. And I think they had the 28th, they had like one of the lowest salaries in the league. So there's still some of this. And of course, there was Astro Ball that came out after this. I read that as well. And that was kind of the next step of Moneyball, them going on and winning the World Series, actually.
Well, and the other thing that this led into was that scene at the end where he meets the guy at Fenway Park, and how Theo and all those guys,
John Henry,
used his metrics which got
And then they ended up winning the World Series like 2 years later.
I mean,
yeah.
and Bill James, the whole thing about Bill James.
Well,
right.
You know,
Baseball
Yeah.
abstract and everything.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the Oakland A's had a $30 million payroll. The Red Sox had a $150 million payroll.
Right.
no,
So
I
they-
know, but,
you
but
know,
they still
I mean-
they still were using
Right.
the idea that
To
you know,
pick
it's all-
certain players.
Kevin Youkilis,
Right.
the Greek god of walks. I love
right.
that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
But what I liked
Now-
about that movie, I love the scenes where they were picking the draft, you know,
Yeah.
because half those guys were real scouts. And you could kind of tell the way they were talking that they weren't actors, that they were just
Right.
they were just saying what they would have normally said
Yeah,
within
he-
the confines.
I love
of
the
that.
line about
I
when
thought
he
that
walks
was
in.
really interesting.
Something his dick gets in ahead of them or something. Or
Yeah,
the guy,
his
he
dick
has an
gets in the
ugly
room before him.
girlfriend, so he has no
Right.
self-esteem.
Or Fabio. Who's Fabio?
Listen, you know
Right.
Brad Pitt, so that's fine. My two favorite scenes really have nothing to do with all that. It has to do with him when he buys the guitar for his daughter, and he watches his daughter play that song.
That
I
song that
lost
wasn't
it.
written at the time that was.
I lost it when
No,
he
that
did
was
that.
cool.
And then
Yeah, that
the
was a really
last
sweet
scene
It was like Tenet.
where Jonah Hill shows him the scene of that big catcher that hits the home run and falls on his
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
And he says, "Who doesn't say baseball's romantic?" Or he says
Yeah.
something like that, and it's
Yeah.
just like, it just said it all.
Scott
for me.
Hatterberg,
So-
ex-Red Sox.
yeah, such a good.
Played by Chris
good film.
Pratt.
And
Chris Pratt,
Yeah.
Brad Pitt got the mannerisms down, and that whole, Billy Bean. It was just really.
Took his shirt
really
off
good.
too. So
I'm just saying he did a great job.
And he got
I liked
lots of
his
scenes where he
forearm.
was working out.
Yeah,
in the
great
gym,
forearm.
Yeah, whatever.
full
I-
of-
Watching him on
scene I
a treadmill in
I
slow
loved
motion.
him with his
It's just-
daughter, and I loved him when he's looking at that guy watching.
And what's his name? Spike. What's the director's name?
Spike Jones.
Spike
No.
Jones. Yeah,
No.
J-
Spike
Jambi.
Jones?
You
No.
got rid of Jambia?
It was Bennett Miller. Bennett Miller directed Moneyball.
No.
The director playing his wife.
Cameo.
Oh, gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spike Jones.
And he mispronounced the ball player's name. You had to lose Jambia?
Yeah, that's good.
And Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
just
that's
looked
Brad.
at him.
Brad, good pick, of course. Good
Yeah,
pick.
that
I
is a
like
good
that
pick.
one.
Well,
Right,
remember
John?
that movie's written by Steven Zalian and Aaron Sorkin. So
Aaron
you really,
Sorkin.
I mean, you can't go wrong with crackerjack
Aaron
dialogue.
Sorkin can't go wrong.
I don't really care about sports and follow sports, but I like a good sports movie, and this is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
excellent
and it's
film.
got the home run there with Scott Hattenberg, and it's just
The 20
it's just
game
crazy.
streak,
Yeah.
win streak and all.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the sexual powerhouse combo of Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. I mean,
Oh, Jonah.
Hey, it worked in
But it had some,
worked
it
the
had
Wolf
some
of
other
Wall
good
Street.
performances.
And Jonah
It
Hill's
had
always there
Seymour
next to
Hoffman.
somebody.
It's not hard to play
Oh, I
first
miss
base. It's
him.
incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Philip
Yeah, maybe
Seymour
get someone from the
Hoffman was
stand.
one of my all-time favorite actors, and I
Yeah, it was weird seeing him
He
as
was
that
kind of a
coach
waste in
stuff.
this movie.
Yeah, it was that was a
Yeah.
little funky seeing him as
Yeah.
how.
We saw him on
was good.
Broadway, and he was amazing.
No, he was an
Sure.
amazing actor. Yeah.
Well, when they do a biography of him, we can talk about it.
There you go. All right, John,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Hey,
Cue it
I
up.
do want to say one thing about this film. I'm going to give it a big compliment. It was about 2 weeks ago. It was on television. It was on one of the commercial channels where they were having like commercials every 10 minutes, 5 minutes of commercials, 10 minutes of movie, 5 minutes of commercials. And I normally will turn it off and try to find it streaming. But I found it so engaging again. I had seen it in the theaters, but I just had to watch it even with the commercials. So I normally don't do that.
Yeah, it's
I
really
still
well
wanna stop
done.
it.
The scenes, there's some really, it's really, especially if you're into baseball at all, it's just really, it is very romantic on that level. So, all right, John, what do you got?
Yeah,
What Elvis
so-
movie did you bring?
I struggled with this one because you know me, I'm old school, right? So my first one was going to be Sergeant York with Gary Cooper, but I said no, I'm not going to do that. Then I want to do Elvis with Kurt Russell, who was excellent movie. Then I said no, I'm not
directed
gonna
by
do that.
John Carpenter.
Then I thought Ed Wood, one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies. And then I said, you know what?
Movie.
I'm going to go 1942, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Jimmy Cagney playing George M. Cohan. And most people don't know who George M. Cohan is, but from the early 1900s till about 1940, he had 17 to 20 shows playing on Broadway. The only statue on Broadway is of George M. Cohan. So he owned Broadway. And for me, who was always a big Jimmy Cagney fan, from the gangster movies, Angel with Dirty Faces, White Heat, The Roaring Twenties. When I saw Yankee Doodle Dandy and saw Jimmy Cagney singing and dancing the way he did, and he also won an Academy Award for it, that was it. I was a Jimmy Cagney fan from now on. The joy and the musical numbers. As a musical, it's fantastic. And people say, well, he's dancing like Jimmy Cagney. Well, no, George M. Cohan. If you ever see the movie, he danced kind of stiff leg. That was a George M. Cohan thing. And if you ever seen any movies or any old movies of George M. Cohan, that's what he looked like when he danced. He sang like George M. Cohan, and the performance. Walter Houston's in it, Joan Leslie, Rosemary DeCamp. It was directed by Michael Curtiz. And so we're talking 1942. We're talking about the beginning or front end of World War II. It's also a love letter to America. George M. Cohan wrote, "You're a grand old flag." So it is, a lot of people say it's propaganda because it's so pro-America. And I won't deny that it is. I also think it's a movie that wouldn't get made today the same way. We always talk about that because it is so pro-America. And part of the reason it was, they were going through the Red Scare at this point, and Cagney wouldn't turn in some communists. So his brother, who also produced this movie, convinced him to do it, because he was hesitant to do it because it was so pro-America. So he did it. He was the first actor to win an Academy Award for a movie musical. So that was a big deal. Also in 1985, this was the first film to ever be colorized. I'm not happy about it. I wish they never did colorization, but this was the first movie. It was the first movie to show a living president portrayed in the sound era. And if you notice the way they shoot it, that, they don't do anything like this anymore. But in the old days, whenever they had reverence for the office, they always showed it from the back, or, you only heard a voice. You never saw the actual president. And they kind of did that with this FDR when he won they said the Congressional Medal of Honor, but he didn't win that. He won the Congressional Gold Medal, something like that. So there was a little, it wasn't quite spot on. He was married twice, and his wife in this was kind of an amalgam of both wives. But for me, the joy of this movie, for the scene that sums it up the best, if you've ever seen this movie, I don't know if anybody has, but at the end of the movie, after he gets his Congressional Medal, he walks down the White House stairs. And originally he was just supposed to walk down the stairs and leave. Well, he ad-libbed a dance step down the entire stairs. And the amazing thing about it is, it was his idea to do it. They did it in one take. And if you watch it, he never looks down at the stairs as he's dancing down the stairs. Now, if you were going down a staircase that long, you would be looking down the stairs if you were just walking. Okay. This guy's dancing. So for me, I love this movie. I love the story. As a guy who used to do a lot of theater, in fact, I did one of the only plays George M. Cohan wrote that wasn't a musical, and it was awful. It was terrible, horrible play. He should stick to musicals, but that's my little connection with George M. Cohan. And I'm a huge Cagney fan. And this, to me, I love his gangster movies, but when I think of Jimmy Cagney, this is the movie that I think of.
Where was this in his list? I mean, where was this in his gangster stuff? Was this before?
Well, he did the gangster stuff late, or 30s, early 30s.
Okay.
So this was 42.
Okay.
So it was after that, but he walked away. He didn't want to do gangster movies. He ended up doing another one that was a big one, but he walked away from it because he didn't want it. He was a song and dance man from vaudeville. So that was his thing anyway. So the fact that he got to do this, and his sister played his sister, Jeannie Cagney, played his actual sister, one of the Cohans. And if you want to see a great acting scene, and we always talk about in the old days, it's all over the top, but the scene where his father dies, and he's at his deathbed, it's an incredibly powerful scene, and it comes across as a real thing. And of course, you found this out later on. The director lost it, so they had to ruin a take because he was getting he reacted so viscerally, and it got caught on camera. They had to redo it, but it's just a great performance, and he definitely deserved the Oscar for it. It was just a great movie, great.
And it's colorized, so I might watch it. So
I would not watch the colorized version of it.
I'm kidding.
But anyway, has anyone seen it?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, a long
I-
time ago, my
Cagney
mother
fan.
used to watch it every July 4th.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So Debbie and Sean, you've seen it.
I love James
Yeah.
Cagney. He was so great in that movie. The way he danced with his legs so stiff.
Yeah.
I thought that he did that, but I'm
No.
glad you said it was
Yeah.
somebody else that danced that way.
George
No,
M. Cohan.
I think he was most proud of this film too.
He was. He says it's his favorite film. George M. Cohan died shortly after this movie came out, but he got to see the finished version. And when they asked him what he thought, he said that would be a tough act to follow.
Wow.
Is this
So I'll
what got
just
you into
die.
acting? Is this the,
I mean,
is this
think
the
about
film that
that.
got you into acting? Was it Cagney the one that got you into acting? Who
No.
got you into acting?
Who got me? I don't.
Leo Mistel?
I mean,
Mistel?
no, zero. No. I was always. You know who it was? Who I really liked? Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis?
I loved Jerry Lewis when I was a kid, and I liked that comedy, and that's what I've always kind of done in the plays that I've done. So, but Jimmy Cagney, if I could, my biggest regret in life is I didn't take tap when I was a kid, because every time I watch him, I go, God, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that.
It's never too late.
Okay,
It is
John.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Devin.
John,
Yep.
do your best Cagney.
Okay, I did a play where I had to do Cagney. You dirty
I know.
rat. Hi, my Yankee Doodle, Dandy. I'm coming out. I did a play where every character had to turn into Jimmy Cagney, and that was my line. I'm going out. I had
Good
to do
job.
the
Good
grapefruit
job,
scene.
Rich. Good job, Rich Little. That was good.
Hey, whatever.
Yeah, that actually,
Thank
your
you.
description, I've never seen that, but your description reminds me of another biopic. It's only
Here it
3
comes.
hours long.
You're gonna say something's gonna hurt me. I can tell.
It's called The Message, the story of the life of the Prophet Muhammad, where you never see him
It's the same.
in this
You're right.
movie starring Anthony Quinn. It's just organ music and
I got it.
people reacting.
He's
to him.
stiff legged too in that one. I remember. that.
Yeah, I think that's another
All right.
example of reverence
Okay.
with
All
that
right.
depiction.
Good
So,
job. All right, Yankee Doodle Dandy. Good one.
Yeah.
All right, here comes mine. I'm going to dim the lights a little, go to black and white.
Oh,
Okay.
I can't wait to hear this.
Because I can. And John gave away the game. This is
great choice.
Great
I
movie.
love that movie.
I
This
love that
is
movie.
a fantastic film. Directed by Tim Burton, obviously starring Johnny Depp. Bella Lugosi played by
Martin Landau.
Martin Landau,
Landau.
Sarah Jessica Parker. Bill Murray's in here.
Yeah.
It's just a real loving tribute to this cross-dressing director who directed potentially at the time, or still might be the worst
Yeah.
film ever made, Plan
Yep.
9 from Outer Space.
Definitely up there.
And it's just a loving tribute to not only to Ed Wood, who was his own character, but all the people around Ed Wood. Bill Murray plays a guy who financed it, who gets baptized in this thing to get a movie made.
The psychic. He was a psychic.
Something. Sarah Jessica
Yeah.
Parker plays his wife, who he's taking sweaters from, or Argyle sweaters came from her.
Angora. Yeah.
Angora. And I love the behind the scenes of how they produce these films, and you look at how there's that one scene where Bella's in with the octopus.
With the octopus. Yeah.
thing in there,
that can't move.
and they're using
Move
the
your
car
arms.
lights to light it up, and the scenes where they're cheating, they're getting shots on streets that they're not supposed to get because they have no permits, and,
Right.
and he's only one take guy, and just his love of, like, whether it was real or not, his just genuine love of what he was doing, both wearing the sweaters and doing the movies, was just such an infectious film.
Well, the scene with Orson Welles, where he compares it to Kane. When I made Kane, and he's thinking, I got to go back out there. That was awesome.
And you can tell Tim Burton loved all these people, and Johnny Depp is one of Johnny Depp's best films.
He was so earnest. In it.
Yeah, touching. And even at the end, in the rain, where I think they're about to go away, he's getting married. I forget. He ends up marrying somebody. I don't know what happened at the end, but I just think this film's fantastic.
This is the worst film I've ever seen. Well, I'll try to do better. I just love it.
It's so earnest.
Right.
And all the people in Hollywood are just trying to figure it out. And he goes and meets that one guy with I think they just have titles of stuff, and they're going to make movies. I don't remember all the details, but I just remember what a loving tribute, or just a beautiful film about some crazy people who want to make.
Well, it was
films,
also
and
about the friendship between him and Bella Lugosi.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a big
Oh,
chunk
yeah.
of
And
what
hey,
the
yeah.
movie was about.
That's the thread.
And Martin
of the
Landau
thing.
was amazing.
Yeah, he won an Oscar
Great.
for that.
He
Yeah,
did.
I
right?
think he won the
Oscar,
Oscar.
yeah.
What's
He
that
was
line he
amazing.
kept doing? He kept I forget. There's a line he kept trying to get his hands up to do, and
Oh yeah,
Ed Wood was just pushing him really hard.
Was it Break the Glass?
Break
The glass. Break the glass. He kept repeating it.
Ralph, do you think that's Tim Burton's best movie?
No, I think for me, Beetlejuice is
Batman.
probably
Best
one
movie,
of his top.
Beetlejuice. Huh.
I think Beetlejuice is one of his best.
Well, my problem with this film is my problem with a lot of what's his name films is
Tim
that
Burton.
Tim Burton is that I think he's more of a
I don't know his
stylist than a storyteller.
Maybe.
I love this film. My only problem is all the energy left the movie when Bela Lugosi dies. Because the third act is weak. Everything up to that is magnificent. But that's my only problem with this film.
Well, that's a huge tribute to Martin Landau and Bela Lugosi. Then, if that says a lot. I just thought the energy and now again, the thing about these films is film fades to black, and then you read about their life after the film, and it's like, oh my God. I guess Ed Wood got into porn. He did all kinds of other stuff. Things just go to hell. But I don't. What are other Tim Burton films? I mean, I can't. I know
Pee-wee's
Batman,
Big Adventure,
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Batman,
Edward Scissorhands, Frank and Weenie.
I mean, he's got a huge range of quality because
he really does.
Guy made Ed Wood, and he also made Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Alice in Wonderland, Planet of the Apes.
He tried. I mean,
he made that horrible Planet of the Apes movie too.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Really,
awesome.
I like that one.
Planet of the Apes, but he did.
It's fun, but it's not a good movie.
I'll tell you, what I loved about this movie was, as bad as the movies he made was, you have to give the guy credit for getting them made.
That's anybody
like
that
on
gets
zero. Like he had the airplane was a shower curtain with cardboard things. I mean, and they're doing scenes with the guns, right? Yeah, they're thinking with the guns. And if you look at Plane 9 from Outer Space, they definitely recreated a bunch of the stuff from it. But I just love that. And Johnny Depp was like, he always plays really offbeat characters. And even though his character was offbeat, the thing that made it work was he didn't play it that way. He just played it like a guy that just wanted to make a good movie, that happened to cross dress. I mean, that was it. But it was probably the most normal character he's played. And I think honest to God, that's what I think I like.
He's one of the more human roles he's ever done.
Have you ever seen? He did one something called Out of Time.
Yeah, with
Christopher
Walken.
Nick of Time.
Nick of Time.
That was great.
That was good.
And we did the other one, Donnie Brasco. I mean, he was fantastic.
Yeah, but again, he played a character in this.
No, I understand.
He played a character in this, but you know what I mean? The most relatable, I thought. You felt you rooted for the guy.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I liked about the movie.
Yeah.
Is that the movie invited you to believe in what Ed Wood was doing you don't have to say, oh, it's actually good. You can just admire his passion and want him to succeed. And I mean, that's an interesting needle to thread. And I think
and all the people around Ed Wood. I said, the character Bill Murray played just was these weird characters who you appreciate. His wife was going crazy. Right. Yeah. So that was my pick.
Yeah. Good pick. That's one of my choices was going to be that one. So good call.
All right. So here's a choice we have to make. I would like to do one more of these kind of round robin before we get back into the rotation, or we do what did Drew watch? Just a full episode of what did Drew watch?
Don't do that. You'll take the special off of it.
It won't be special anymore. Okay, good.
It has to be a fleeting, beautiful moment.
Do
you guys want us to leave while you guys hash this out?
No, we just did it. We're done.
No, we'll do that on our next show.
We're going to do one more genre. I love the genre thing. All right. Can we see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I removed the one we just did. We'll do one. Let's spin it. See what we got. Oh!
SNL alumni.
Saturday Night Live alumni.
Fletch it is.
This is a rich theme, or what do you call genre? This is a rich one. So there you go.
By the way, we're signaling because we've been keeping it on mute because our neighbors are having a party.
All right. Well,
they're having a party and you're putting yours on mute.
Yeah. Make sure you tell them to watch our show.
Hey, thanks for taking the time.
Make them subscribe.
Yeah,
Thank you for taking the time from the trip to join us.
Look how beautiful the sky looks.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah,
and we're all jealous that we're not there.
To take the time to come on this is really
this was great. You guys
we enjoy it.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
very special. Now in editing, I'm going to go crazy because you're flipping all around and people.
Sorry.
You want to make me get a massage too.
So, all right, guys, listen. Safe trip back, you two.
Yeah, fly safely.
Right. Everybody else have a nice week, and then Saturday Night Live alumni.
Okay.
Sounds great.
All right.
Sounds good.
That should be rich. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.